You tell yourself you're lazy, undisciplined, or just bad at time management. But what if I told you that procrastination has nothing to do with laziness and everything to do with fear? Freud discovered something disturbing about why you delay, avoid, and put off the very things that could transform your life. You're not procrastinating because you don't care. You're procrastinating because you care too much. Your procrastination is actually a sophisticated psychological defense mechanism designed to protect you from something far more terrifying than failure: the possibility of success and what that success might demand from you. Right now, you probably have something important you're avoiding: a project, a conversation, a decision, an opportunity. And you've convinced yourself it's because you lack motivation or discipline. But Freud realized that procrastination is actually perfectionism in disguise, fear masquerading as laziness, and self-protection dressed up as self-sabotage. You delay starting because starting means you might finish, and finishing means you might succeed, and succeeding means everything in your life might have to change. Your procrastination isn't a bug in your system, it's a feature designed to keep you exactly where you are. Tell me in the comments, what important thing have you been putting off, and what are you really afraid will happen if you actually do it? I can see from your responses that you're avoiding things that could genuinely transform your lives. But here's what Freud discovered about the deeper psychology of procrastination. You're not avoiding the task, you're avoiding the identity, change that completing the task would require. Every goal you set, every project you start, every commitment you make is actually a vote for who you want to become. But becoming that person means killing who you currently are, and your ego is fighting for its survival. When you procrastinate on writing that book, you're not just avoiding the work, you're avoiding becoming someone who could be rejected, criticized, or judged. When you delay starting that business, you're not just avoiding the effort, you're avoiding becoming someone who could fail publicly or succeed beyond your current identity. When you put off having that difficult conversation, you're not just avoiding discomfort, you're avoiding becoming someone who sets boundaries and demands respect. Freud understood that procrastination is identity protection. You delay action to preserve your current sense of self, even when that self is limiting your potential. Your procrastination is actually your ego's way of saying, I'd rather stay safely mediocre than risk becoming dangerously great. What identity are you protecting by avoiding action? Your honest answers reveal how procrastination protects you from growth. But Freud discovered something even more disturbing. You procrastinate because you're addicted to the illusion of infinite potential. As long as you don't start, you can't fail. As long as you don't try, you can maintain the fantasy that you could be amazing if you just tried. Procrastination allows you to live in the space between dreaming and doing, where everything is possible and nothing is tested. But the moment you take action, you collapse that infinite potential into finite reality. You risk discovering that you're not as talented, capable, or special as you hoped. You risk finding out that your dreams are bigger than your abilities, that your vision exceeds your execution, that your potential was just potential and not destiny. This is why you can spend hours researching, planning, and preparing, but never actually beginning. You're not being thorough, you're being avoidant, you're not being strategic, you're being scared. The research phase allows you to feel productive while avoiding the vulnerability of creation. But here's what Freud realized. Your fear of discovering your limitations is actually limiting you more than your actual limitations ever could. What fantasy about yourself are you protecting by never testing it against reality? I can see from your comments that many of you are living in the safety of untested potential. But here's what Freud discovered about breaking the procrastination cycle. You have to make friends with imperfection. Your procrastination is often perfectionism in disguise. You delay starting because you can't guarantee the outcome will be perfect. You wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect mood, the perfect circumstances. But perfection is procrastination's best friend because perfection is impossible, which means you'll never have to start. Freud understood that perfectionism isn't about excellence, it's about control. You'd rather do nothing perfectly than do something imperfectly. You'd rather maintain the illusion of potential perfection than risk the reality of imperfect action. But progress requires you to befriend the discomfort of doing things badly before you can do them well. It requires you to start before you're ready, act before you're confident, and create before you're inspired. The people who accomplish great things aren't more talented than you. They're more willing to suck at something until they don't. They understand that messy action beats perfect inaction every single time. What would you start today if you gave yourself permission to be terrible at it? Your responses show how perfectionism disguises itself as procrastination. But Freud discovered another layer. You procrastinate because you're unconsciously loyal to your past self. Every time you delay taking action toward your goals, you're actually honoring commitments you made to stay small, stay safe, stay the same. These commitments were often made in childhood or during traumatic experiences when staying invisible felt like survival. Maybe you learned that being seen led to criticism, that trying led to disappointment, that hoping led to heartbreak. So you developed procrastination as a protection strategy. If you never fully commit, you never fully fail. If you never completely try, you never completely get rejected. But this childhood survival strategy is now sabotaging your adult success. You're still operating from the assumption that visibility is dangerous, that effort is pointless, that dreams are just setups for disappointment. Your procrastination is actually loyalty to a version of yourself that needed protection but no longer serves you. Breaking procrastination means being willing to betray your past self's commitment to safety in order to honor your future self's need for growth. It means choosing expansion over protection, possibility over certainty, courage over comfort. What old promise to stay small are you honoring through your procrastination? I can see from your answers that you're recognizing the childhood origins of your avoidance patterns. But here's what Freud discovered about transforming procrastination into action. You have to understand that your emotions are information, not instructions. Right now, you probably wait to feel like doing things before you do them. You wait for motivation, inspiration, or the right mood. But feelings are followers, not leaders. They respond to action, they don't create it. When you wait to feel motivated before you act, you've got the equation backwards. You don't act because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you act. This is why the first step is always the hardest, and why momentum builds through movement, not through thinking. Freud realized that people who accomplish their goals don't feel different than you. They just act differently than you. They don't wait for perfect conditions, perfect energy, or perfect circumstances. They act in spite of fear, in spite of doubt, in spite of not feeling ready. They understand that confidence comes from competence, and competence comes from practice, and practice comes from starting before you're ready. Your feelings will catch up to your actions, but your actions will never catch up to your feelings if you wait for feelings to lead. What action could you take today, regardless of how you feel about it? Your insights about waiting for the right feelings reveal the backwards relationship between emotion and action. But Freud discovered the ultimate truth about procrastination. It's not about time management, it's about energy management. You don't procrastinate because you don't have enough time. You procrastinate because you don't have enough emotional energy to face what the task represents. That project you're avoiding, it's not the actual work that's draining, it's the fear, shame, anxiety, or overwhelm that you've attached to it. That conversation you're postponing, it's not the words that are exhausting, it's the emotional exposure that terrifies you. That goal you keep delaying, it's not the effort that's overwhelming, it's the vulnerability of caring about something that could disappoint you. This is why you can spend hours scrolling social media, but can't spend 5 minutes on your important project. Social media doesn't threaten your identity, challenge your comfort zone, or risk your self-image. Your important work does all of those things, which makes it feel emotionally expensive, even when it's practically simple. Breaking procrastination isn't about finding more time or developing more discipline. It's about developing more emotional resilience. It's about learning to feel fear and act anyway, to feel doubt and move forward, to feel overwhelmed and start small. What emotion are you avoiding by procrastinating? And how can you learn to feel that emotion without letting it stop you? As we conclude this deep exploration into the psychology of procrastination, I want you to understand something profound that Freud discovered. Your procrastination isn't your enemy. It's a misguided protector that's overstayed its welcome. Every delay, every avoidance, every moment of resistance was originally designed to keep you safe from real or imagined threats. But what once protected you is now imprisoning you. The very mechanism that helped you survive is now preventing you from thriving. Breaking free from procrastination isn't about willpower or discipline. It's about compassion and courage. Compassion for the part of you that learned to avoid as a survival strategy, and courage to choose growth over safety, action over analysis, and progress over perfection. You don't need to eliminate fear to overcome procrastination. You need to develop a different relationship with fear. Instead of letting fear stop you, you can let fear inform you. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you can use discomfort as a compass pointing toward your growth edge. The things you're most afraid to do are often the things that will transform your life the most. Your procrastination has been keeping you safe in a cage of unrealized potential. But safety isn't the goal anymore. Fulfillment is. And fulfillment requires you to risk the familiar pain of staying stuck for the unfamiliar possibility of becoming free. The question that will determine your future isn't whether you'll feel ready to act. It's whether you'll act while feeling unready. Your dreams are waiting on the other side of your procrastination. The only question left is, how much longer will you keep them waiting?